Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Apex Racing TV, and welcome back to the Radical Esports Cup. This is round number 8 of this season, coming to you tonight from Okayama. My name is Ron Mons. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Aaron Smith, and in the virtual production hall we have Joshua Wilkie. Tonight, we continue this season at a track that the Radicals haven't visited since 2022, Okayama. It's a rather peculiar track in the world of motorsports, hosted the Formula One Grand Prix all the way back in 1994 and 1995, and with that it went down the history books as one of the most bizarre Grand Prix events ever held. But here in the Radicals on the iRacing platform at this track, we're expecting another real oddball of a race here, Aaron. So what are your thoughts coming into it?
Well, I can't get my thoughts on much as, well, the qualifying session has literally just finished. But Okayama, of course, many people familiar with this track. Well, if you're 30 or more years old, this, of course, hosts a couple Formula One Grand Prix back in the day. But here, we're hopefully here for something a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, hoping that this is going to be a good one for sure. I mean, Okayama, it's an iRacing staple, and I'm sure these drivers have got a boatload of experience around here, either good, bad, or otherwise. But you can see the drivers lining up on the starting grid, and let's take a look at that starting grid and how they will line up for this official race we've got here today. Andre Castro starting from the pole. Andreas Friedrich going to join him on the front row. Christoph Lipp in third. Harvard Gullikson will start this race at fourth alongside. Then we have Alexandra Vromat starting in 5th. Kim Andre Bjorkman will start in 6th. Sally Ryan, Tom Leno, Brad, Dennis Kiriakopoulos, and Ethan Little will round out your top 10. We'll briefly go through the rest of the drivers in this starting grid. A little bit crammed in at the start of the show after some technical issues. We apologize about that, folks, but ready to get things up and rolling from the 8th race of this Radical official season. Remember, folks, this is not a league event. This is the Radical Esports Cup, the iRacing official series, where we here on Apex Racing TV every single Friday for every single iRacing season, including this one, cover the top split Friday action from the 2100 GMT broadcast. So if you want to be a part of this race here on Apex Racing TV and you have a good enough iRating, hop into one of these Radical SR10s. As our colleague and friend here at Apex Racing TV, J.R. Gregory, says, the Radical SR10 is one of the best cars on the iRacing platform, and they put on some pretty darn good racing, and I think we're going to see that get put on full display here at Okayama today. This track, a little bit on the shorter end, 11 turns in all at just 2.31 miles, but it is a fantastic track nonetheless. That's going to be a fantastic race that we'll be hosting here today, waiting for those lights to come out, and that's a long run to turn 1. The lights are out and the drivers are on their way. Look like a very good start from both of our front row sitters, swapping sides like they're flipping burgers as Andre Castro and Andreas Friedrich, but hang their way through turn number 1. Side-by-side racing kicks off all throughout the rest of the field. It's going to be a dream start for the American of Castro. He's going to be leading them through the first sector, but look at some side-by-side racing a little bit farther in the back, negotiating their way through the Moss S of turn number 3 for the first time into Atwood Curve. This turn number 4, one of the most important corners on this lap to try and get right. I've seen a whole lot of pile-ups go on here. I've been a part of a whole lot of pile-ups heading through there as well. That is not a fun section to get it wrong, but this is a fun section to get some overtakes out of these draft-heavy race cars. The back straightaway into the hairpin of turn number 5, and it looks like most of the field negotiating the first half of this first lap clean.
Yeah, very clean start from our 17-car grid, and once again, Andrea Castro leading the way, with Friedrich following in very closely behind, followed by his teammate Christoph Lipp in 3rd. No James Barry again tonight, which is very, very concerning. Maybe the man has fallen out of love with the Radical SR10, as 2 weeks in a row we've not seen Mr. James, and that's not happened very often. So we wonder where is Mr. James Barry, and we hope to see him back again sometime soon. And well, maybe some of you watching could come and replace him. We've got, at least in this top split, 3 spots left open that we could have filled today's grid with. But nevertheless, on to lap 2 we go. Couple moves, as you can see in front, heading into turn 1, debatably the second best overtaking opportunity on the track. The best, of course, being turn 5, the hairpin, where, well, Ron probably has, well, if you've experienced some pile-ups at turn 4, you've probably experienced some at turn 5.
Well, I've created them at turn number 5.
Oh,
you underestimate how bad of an iRacer I am there, and that's a very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead, behind the wheel. It was an MX-5 Cup race, went in, they were going about 14 times the speed of sound, and it was only until I hit the inside curve going about 50 miles an hour too quick when I realized that I may have messed things up, but that wasn't a mess up at all from Braun. Heinz Braun in that striking number 6 car gets a move done in front of Dennis Kyriakopoulos to slip his way up into P8. This field, though, still vacuum sealed together. Andre Castro still leading it over the German of Andreas Friedrich, the other German of Christoph Lipp, currently slotted in 3rd. Christoph Lipp and Andreas Friedrich involved in a little bit of controversy 1 week ago at Phillip Island, Aaron, where they came to blows, coming to take the checkered flag in that race. Andre Castro was the one who ended up being victorious, so maybe got a case of deja vu in this 18-lap race here at Okayama.
Well, lucky for them, there's probably less opportunity for them to crash into each other, at least in this race. They are, of course, these front 3 are probably the most competitive drivers that we've seen so far this season. I think the rest of the field does have a tiny bit of catching up to do. I say that as, well, 3 or 4 drivers just completely ran wide there at turn 2. A very, very tricky corner indeed, and one that I've messed up a few times in the past, dipping a rear wheel onto the grass. And, well, you get sent round and then your day is ruined. But no drivers have, well, made any mistakes yet. All 17 drivers are heading on to lap 3, still within 8 seconds of one another. And you can see that battle going on for 4th between Gullickson and Vermont. But the Frenchman just did not have the balls that he needed to make that move around the outside, and is now looking in his rearview mirrors at Kim-Andre Bjorklund, who's currently in 6th place. Heinz Braun, by the way, your quickest mover upper at the moment, up 4 places from where he started. Although saying that's your quickest downer ower is George Gonzaga, who just lost 4 places in one corner. Not sure what happened to him.
Gonzaga, I'm not sure whether he got struck by the falling anvil or he became the falling anvil himself with how quickly he was dropping back. He's now in last, P17. Not terribly far off the second to last car of Wet. However, that is not a good position to find yourself in at all. If you are George Gonzaga, may have to load up a replay to see what in the world happened to him. Christoph Lipp now holding on to the fastest lap of the race at a 124.161. The drivers at the front of the field still pretty evenly matched pace-wise, and that will definitely be the case from the start of this race all the way until the finish. Let's take a look at a replay to see what happened to George Gonzaga in the number 11 car. Trying to get the move done, heading down the inside into turn number 5. Looks like no harm, no foul there, but I think he may have gotten a slight nudge there, Aaron. Not the best angle, at least from my end. Not sure the angle that you saw, but I think there may have been some extracurricular activity involved in that spinneroo.
Yeah, that definitely looked like it to me as well, and well, perhaps we can take one teeny-weeny little look at it once again as we ride on board with Verstappen going into this corner. And yeah, you're absolutely right. There was a love tap there going into turn 6, and well, sent Gonzaga round all the way to the back of the grid. But he has made up at least 1 place in this last minute or so on Chris Vetz, who's currently in 17th now as a result. But again, even after that contact, still no one's really made any mistakes. And considering Okayama is a track that I don't think these drivers have driven on in a long time, you kind of come here during your rookie days as an iRacer, you know, on the MX-5 Cup or Formula V or whatever it is they're racing nowadays, and then after that, that's kind of it. I don't really tend to see Okayama on normal schedules on the Radicals, on F3 or Super Formula Light, IMSA, etc. You get the idea. It's not a track that these drivers will race very often, as you know, back in their rookie days, you're just trying to survive more than anything than going quick. But everyone handling this circuit rather well, must be said. It's a fairly short track, only about 1 minute 24 seconds is the quickest times that we've seen in this race so far. as Gullickson might need to be going a little bit quicker than that, as he's still under pressure from the Frenchman. Just noticed as well while we were watching that battle, as Vermont's still trying around the outside, but I don't think it's going to work there. Now he might dive up the inside heading into turn 7, but just did not have the run to try and outrun the Norwegian currently blocking his view. And he's going to have to sit agonizingly in 5th once again. But like I was going to say, Lip and Friedrich have swapped positions. So it's now, I was going to say one of the Germans, but they're both German, of course, as that's Little going all the way to the back of the grid. I think he's made a mistake as well.
Yeah, he's had a mistake as we take a look at this replay to see Christoph Lip and Andreas Friedrich swapping positions. Here you can see Lip on the inside, heading his way through the braking zone into turn number 5. Pretty textbook stuff there from Christoph Lip to make his way up into P2, where he still remains at this point in time. That gap, though, increasing somewhat between Andre Castro and now the P2 runner of Christoph Lip. 1 second, 1.1 second, teetering down to 1.2 seconds. That gap is very much so growing between those two drivers at the front of the field, and considering that we're only a handful of laps away from the halfway mark, may have to mention that in a little bit. We'll say, though, Kim André Björklund, he's dropping down the running order. The Norwegian man currently running down in 10th in the number 9 car. Not sure what in the world happened a couple of moments ago. I think it may have been an off-track excursion, heading his way through turn number 2, just based off the positioning at the time. Dips a wheel off, heading out of turn number 1, so that's not going to do him any favors. And dips all 4 off, coming out of 2.
Yeah, but weirdly, that wouldn't have lost him that many places. Did he make a 3rd mistake? Yeah, he did. There you go. You saw another mistake for Björklund going into turn 4. So 3 mistakes in 3 corners for Björklund. Yeah, that's not ideal at all. And clearly Ryton and behind was not very happy. You saw him flashing his mirrors. Might have distracted Björklund slightly, as, yeah, 3rd mistake of the lap into turn 4. And, yeah, that's not going to put a smile on his face, but at least he didn't crash into the barrier, or anyone else for that matter. And he can continue on his merry way. He was looking fairly speedy. I believe he was in 6th place at the time. So he's clearly got some decent pace in the back of that Radical car, but just has to put it to good use over these next 11 or so laps. And, well, unsurprisingly, Andrea Castro, we've seen this many, many times over the years. He's leading, and his gap is extending by about a 10th every single lap. And, well, can he hold on to this kind of pace? You'd think so with his kind of experience and pace that he's had so far. And usually with Andrea, if he's on pole or if he gets himself into 1st place, he usually stays there. There's not many people who can fight against this man, and he's becoming the ever dominant force in the Radical Esports Cup. And he's kind of been slowly getting better and better over the last few seasons. And perhaps this is the season that he finally takes the crown and gets the championship at the end.
I think there may have been another off-track excursion involving Nolan Hulkinen. Lots of shuffling going on a little bit farther in the back of the field. We'll mention the fact that, as you've said a couple times thus far, Aaron, been a rather smooth day of racing action up to this point. A couple of incidents here and there, though, and I will note the Björklund series of incidents breaking up the front of the field a teeny tiny bit, but let's... Oh, my apologies there, folks. Let's take a look and see a spin heading through. That is turn number 8, and contact being made. More spinning around. That was our new Knoll in the number 14 car that got involved in all of that drama. Mika Hulken in the number 16 car was a car that T-boned him. I think the car that spun out in all that drama was Ethan Little. There you can see Knoll and Little now running together. Hulken with a little bit of damage on the front end of that race car. Some holes punched into it. He finds himself in P17.
Yeah, we've just had a few little incidents over the last few laps. I think drivers... this is one thing that does tend to happen here at Okayama, is it's fairly difficult to pass. Although if you get a nice slipstream run like that, like Little just did, then overtakes are rather easy. But, I mean, when the field is as competitive and close as this, it's rather difficult to do that, as kicking up some gravel on the exit of turn 6 there. But, yeah, Okayama, from what I have experienced, it's so difficult to overtake here. Even though you do have some overtaking opportunities, And Bjorklund, I believe, has made another mistake as he falls down to 14th. He really is not having a fun day here, and there's some tyre smoke, so I can imagine where he had his off. That was at the exit of turn 9, by the way, so I think he's gone for a loop-de-loop round there. And, oh, speaking of which, that was Friedrich, who's just been sent round by himself. And again, well, I mean, that's iRacing's new debris system coming in for you. I believe he tripped up on some gravel and, well, completely spun the car around.
Andreas Friedrich going around twice in the span of a couple of moments. Let's take a look at riding on board with him. He was running in 3rd at the time, heading his way out of turn number 1 into 2. I think he clipped the gray. Yeah, he did clip the grass, and that just spins him around, ends up in the gravel trap, and then here we go. Gasses it, gooses the throttle too much in that number 4 car, and around he goes yet again. Very lucky not to get T-boned based off where he was stopped. He should be counting his lucky stars. The fact that side of that number 4 car wasn't turned into wallpaper paste as a result of an impending collision with him stopped where he was. But there you can see, yeah, he clipped the grass. I'm not even sure if he actually clipped the grass on the outside of the track. I think he just clipped some grass that was brought onto it by some people doing exactly what he had done before. So that's of either way, that's going to drop him well down the running order. Look at where is he now? He's all the way down at 11. They could barely even spot where Andreas Friedrich was. But that is going to be a kick in the shins if ever you saw one. As we go back to live action, see some side-by-side racing for the final podium spot involving Gullikson and Vroma heading through turn number 1. Vroma on the inside line into 2 right now, and he gets that move done to slip his way up into 3rd. Well executed from the Frenchman.
Yeah, that is the important thing now, is this battle, which was for 4th and 5th, is now for 3rd and 4th. So that's opened up the podium spots for these two. Vermont has managed to get past, and can he stay ahead now? Like I was talking about a lap ago, it is difficult to pass here, especially when the gaps are so close. You kind of really only get the slipstream down this back straight and into turn 5. But everywhere else, it is super, super difficult. The main straight really isn't long enough to go for any kind of move, so unless someone makes a mistake round here, you're going to have to be pushing awfully hard. And I guess the Radicals, this is kind of a good situation to do that. You don't have to worry about fuel or tyres or anything. Mostly, anyway, I've heard that the tyres can get a little bit skittish towards the end of these races, but it is difficult here. And I also think the inexperience, like I was mentioning earlier, that drivers don't really have too many laps around here, I wouldn't think. It probably adds to that as well. And although it's been fairly clean in this race so far, we have seen a few solo mistakes, of course, from the likes of Friedrich and Bjorklund are the 2 biggest ones that we've seen so far. You know, 2 very well-established drivers in this Radical car. As Lip, I just noticed, has been slowly gaining on Castro, but I believe he did make a mistake on this lap, which just lost him 2/10. So yeah, there's my jinx coming into play once again.
Also, holy cow, look at the amount of dust and gravel and smoke getting kicked up into the air. Basically every single corner, there's at least a small little deposit of either grass or gravel on the outside lines. That's going to be another big thing to talk about with just along off into the future on iRacing, talking about the gravel and the grass being brought onto the track as we see Andreas Friedrich nearly go for a move on Vestillen, heading off into turn number 5. Not close enough, but Friedrich still running in 11th as it stands currently. And just to count through, more gravel. More gravel, probably going to be some gravel on the exit here. Yeah, that kind of is, with some grass. And this one, there's definitely some gravel on exit, because this corner, turn number 8, rather challenging one with many opportunities for cars to come to the blow. Believe me, I've done many a broadcast of a race here where some drivers tried going side by side into 8s and misjudged it and crashed into each other. So I've already seen that thus far in this race, in fact. So I can't say that I'm blowing smoke out of my butt there, as we see a completed lap for the drivers running either just barely inside the top 10, in the case of Chris Vestillen in that number 13 car, or the drivers just barely outside, and a lot of heavy hitters running a little bit farther in the back, mainly Andreas Friedrich and Gonzaga.
Yeah, that Friedrich probably is going to be extremely disappointed with this one, mainly because he's going to be losing quite a bit of chunk of iRacing, actually. From if he stays where he is, from what we are getting, he's going to be losing 52 iRating, which is not easy to recoup, considering Andrea Castro would only be getting 55 for winning the entire thing. And but speaking of Friedrich, there he is making another mistake going into turn 5, trying to overtake Vestinian. And he just really is not having a good day here at Okayama. I think he just locked up on the outside there. And we can take a look. As Vestinian did actually defend the position going into the hairpin. And Friedrich, just loses the back end. Trying to get as late as he can on the brakes. But those two rear Michelin tyres were having absolutely none of it.
And that's the thing when it comes to these Radical SR10s. I've gotten a lot of experience driving these cars in the 9 seasons I've been covering Radical official racing here on Apex Racing TV. These tires, they can take a lot, but they definitely have their limits. And for Andreas Friedrich, he certainly found the limit there. Those rear tires just deciding, no, are you kidding me? And then nearly setting him off the track backwards in a cloud of dust and smoke. So thankfully for him, he kept it going in a straight line. But I think that incident also shows that in these Radical SR10 races, in these cars that are oh so difficult to drive at the edge of control, it is really, really important just to be in a good mind frame for these drivers, be in a good mindset from the drop of the green flag all the way until the checkered flag. Otherwise, if you're a driver like Andreas Friedrich, who had a good start, then had that mistake, and ever since then, he's just been kind of piling onto it and onto it and onto it, and it's just been snowballing out of control ever since, as we nearly see a bump and run attempted from George Gonzaga to the back of Verstiller in the number 13 car. Holy cow.
Yeah, it was very close. Gonzaga. Oh, well, I mean, there's a send for you up the inside, Verstinen, and, well, that's going to be a completed move for Gonzaga, but Verstinen completely takes him out. And, well, Chris, that was absolutely not on, at least from my perspective. But the position was lost, and, well, that was... Well, he'd be getting a penalty. That's all I'd be saying. That was very unsportsmanlike from the Dutchman. And Gonzaga probably feeling less than impressed at what he just did. We can have a look from Gonzaga's perspective. It was a send from George, but it was clean. He got the move done and then was fully ahead, and Chris just bumped him off the road.
Yeah, I think we have to take a look at some several angles of this, because that was we'll be inquisitive into this. You know, I bring this up occasionally for the broadcast I'm on the air for, but another series here on Apex Racing TV, the other Rennsport World Challenge and the Rennsport Mini-Mite Sports Car Challenge, I used to be in race control for those, and those are some pretty big races with a lot of drama. I have a lot of experience with race control. I did that for a year and a half, so I feel like I can say with total confidence, if this was a league race and I was in race control, Vestillin would have, for lack of proper broadcasting terminology, he would have gotten his ass parked for that, because that was, I mean, how the hell if I care. So it's, you know, it's just that, it's, you feel bad for a driver like George Gonzaga for an incident like that. He's now fallen down to 13th and just rubbing salt into the wounds. I gotta feel bad for him as well, because, you know, as you said, Aaron, he did that move. It was clean. He didn't make any side-to-side contact. It wasn't like he went in going 14 times the speed of sound and just knocked the crap out of him. Stillin, on the other hand, that isn't even the first time they came to blows as well either, because remember earlier on in the race when Gonzaga spun heading into turn 6? That was with himself and Verstillin. So those two, there's maybe a little bit of beef going on there, possibly. I don't really know why Vestillin would do that.
Change for the lead.
Change for the lead. Got our subject off of that. Andre Kasher and Christoph Lipp battling for it. Andre Kasher holding on to it for now, but Christoph Lipp has reeled that gap in, then some.
Well, I was just keeping an eye on it while you were yip-yap-yopping away. And I noticed that, yeah, exactly. I noticed that Castro had an absolutely awful previous lap. He was, in fact, 7/10 slower than what Christoph Lipp did. And perhaps while Lipp is just backing off, at least for these last few corners, we can take a look at a replay of those two battling. I believe it was into turn 5 where they started fighting. And we can have a look. This is the run down to the back straight. Lip getting a very nice slipstream. Castro faking a move to the inside, but then lets Lip have it. And Lip gets the move done. And then Castro comes completely back up the inside. And I think Lip's biggest mistake there was not covering the inside there, because if you do, you can just hug the inside line for the next 2 corners and you probably will keep the position. So that was a tiny little defensive error from Mr. Christoph Lip, and he's got to do this move all over again. And we're going to have one more look at the battle between these two. And, I mean, I'm surprised Castro didn't defend the inside here, to be honest. Then Lip gets it done, but Castro, seeing the opportunity, just sends it back up the inside. Very good defensive stuff from Andrea Castro. And initially was some very good attacking play from Christoph Lip. It's going to be a good battle, I think, for the final few laps between these two. Very, very quick drivers. I think Castro, with that bad lap, you know, might be struggling a touch around here. And it's all to play for now as we head, I believe, onto the second to last lap.
Yeah, the time in this race slowly but surely whittling down in this 18-lap long official race. I'm clicking on to lap 17 right now, and this is going to be a heads-up duel between those two. One's a German, one's an American. They both have kind of the same paint scheme on the, actually in the session, but the other paint scheme that you can see on the air is a teeny tiny bit different than each other. I say teeny tiny bit, it's, for sure it's worlds different the way these two cars look, but still, they're not looking too different in terms of their pace either. They're rather evenly matched. I mean, look at that. Is this, I believe this is best lap of the race graphic that we've got up right now. Last lap, my apologies there, folks. And look at that, last lap. They matched all but one number in terms of their lap times, and they're side by side heading into turn number 5. Not close enough for Christoph Lip to get that move done. Best lap, though, they're pretty quick. Christoph Lip has the best lap of the two of them, though. Like, I wonder how Andre Castro has been doing thus far in this race in terms of consistency, because you don't need to be the best. You don't need to be the fastest to be the best. You could just be just insanely consistent. I gotta say, these two drivers are some of the best that Radicals have here on the iRacing platform. So it's gonna be a heads-up brawl between these two. I have a good feeling about Andre Castro, though. He's proven himself to be a very good contender in these cars, and he's gonna be taking the white. Let's see if he can take the checkered.
Well, one more lap to go to decide this race, and admittedly, about 3 or 4 laps ago, I didn't think we would have a fight for the race. But that one really poor lap from Castro has kind of opened things up. But it's just about Lip now. Can he keep his composure in these next few corners to try and get a good run? He is awfully far back, and I don't think he's going to have the run down into turn 5. But maybe this is a corner which he is very, very good at. And coming through here, he gained a tiny bit of time on Andrea Castro, but it is just not going to be enough. I mean, coming out of that corner on the previous lap, he was 0.3 behind, and that still wasn't enough, so let alone half a second. The slipstream is powerful in these cars, but not that powerful, so I would also favour Castro. I mean, track position around here is extremely important, and it looks like it's going to hold out just about for our resident American, who I believe is going to be taking a huge chunk of points from this race. And try as Christoph Lip might, he can send one up the inside there, but just is not close enough. So unfortunately for Christoph Lip, he pushed all the way right until the end, but it is just not going to be enough for the German. But this time, it's America, baby! It's Andrea Castro coming across the line to take what I believe is going to be a very, very important win for him in this season. And it was a great battle between those two. It really was, from what we saw of it. Vermont ends up getting that 3rd place final podium spot, and Reitinen and Gullickson were not too far behind. And then the rest of the grid kind of were. It was Karakopolis 6 seconds behind 5th place Reitinen, who ends up finishing in 5th, like I mentioned. And then Heinz Braun, I believe your highest. No, it was actually Kettle Larson, along with Chris Wetz, who gained the most positions today. So fair play to those two. And of course, very, very disappointing races for the likes of Friedrich and Bjorklund, who had the fastest lap of the race, a 24 dead. So, I mean, he had some pace in that Radical car, but it just was not meant to be.
Yeah, it was not meant to be at all. One small little mistake and just a series of mistakes in the case of Bjorklund really ruined his chance of doing well in this. But when everything is said and done, this man, Andre Castro, in the number 2 car is your winner here at Okayama. We've got fantastic schedule of races to look forward to here from the Radical Esports Cup. And just another one of these fantastic Radical races, which you can catch every single Friday here on Apex Racing TV. Gives you more reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell, just because you don't want to miss out on the final couple of races that we've got. We've got Brands Hatch, Barcelona, and Long Beach, followed by the Nordschleife to bring this 12-race official calendar to a conclusion. Now, with some donuts to celebrate the win for Andre Castro, I think we'll take a look at the results at the end of this race. What a race. We were expecting it to be probably a bit more bit more hidden in terms of the racing action, but we had some pretty good battles to talk about, some side-by-side racing, and these drivers give us a good show to talk about when everything is said and done. Andre Castro, though, going to take the checkered flag to win it here at Okayama. He's going to use that winner's trophy to afford the repair the damage on that car that he just picked up trying to do these donuts, but he still ends up winning. A Christoph Lipp going to finish about a half a second back in P2. That's Alexander Vroma rounding out your podium in 3rd. Harvard Gullickson going to finish in 4th. Sally Reinen rounds out your top 5. Dennis Kyriakopoulos will finish in 6th. Tom Leno Brown in 7th. Heinz Braun in 8th. Carol Larson in 9th. Andreas Friedrich will finish this race in the lucky finishing position of 10th. Then we have Chris Vestilen finishing this race at 11th. Chris Wetz finishes right behind in 12th. George Gonzaga is probably not going to be very happy after that moment with himself, and Verstiller is going to finish in lucky number P13. Kim Andre Bjorklund will finish in 14th. Ethan Little in P15. Arnold Noel, I should say. Newell, that's, oh boy. He ends up in 16th, though, even with that butchered last name pronunciation from me. Mika Holkinen going to round out your 17 cars that are classified at the end of this race. Race where we were expecting these drivers to have some difficulties overtaking, and these draft-heavy race cars are not a whole lot long straightaways, but I think that still proved to be a rather compelling race, Aaron. What do you think?
Yep, I think I'll agree. It's obviously wasn't as action-packed completely as we've seen sometimes this season, but it was better than I was expecting. Of course, we had that battle for the lead, a couple battles for the podium as well. That battle between Friedrich Verstinen and Wetz, Gonzaga, Bjorklund, they were all fighting very, very hard until the end. But I think some drivers are going to be a little bit frustrated, especially like we were talking about with Friedrich. He's had a very, very up and down season so far. He's been struggling a lot, not in terms of pace really, but just in terms of that consistency, which of course you need over the course of an entire season. But just looking forward to the final 4 rounds that we do have on the Radical Esports Cup, because by the looks of it, no one wants to come and have a chat with us. Never mind, Castro just popped in, so we'll have a chat after a brief quick mention of the rest of the schedule. Of course, next week we are heading to Brands Hatch, then Barcelona the week after that, then Long Beach. Of course, we're all looking forward to that one. I hope, you know I am. And then to round the season off, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, as we are usually ending the season on.
It's an awesome schedule of races to look forward to here from the Radical Esports Cup, and one driver who we've seen all season long and a driver who we just saw grab a checkered flag is Andre Castro, who's now joining us in the commentary booth. Andre, welcome in, and congratulations on the win here at Okayama. Talk us through it.
Yeah, thanks. Just put in a really good lap. That lap 2 of qualifying, I just knew I had to. I was, I came home basically right before the race. I didn't really have any warm-up, and I just knew I needed to focus. So that was the biggest thing, was getting the pole and then not losing the lead on the start. And then, yeah, I don't know if you got on the broadcast, but I outbraked myself maybe lap 12, 13. And yeah, Christoph got alongside me, kind of rubbed doors a little bit. I was able to hold him off, and that was pretty much the only hitch in the plan. I wanted to just have a clinical lights to flag win and have no no battling or anything, you know. But yeah, I did go wide that one time and have to fend him off. Wasn't my idea, wasn't part of the plan, but yeah, it worked out, and yeah, really happy to get the win.
Well, that it certainly did, working out with you backing that car into victory lane yet again for this season. I want to ask you about the entirety of this season. You know, this being the 8th round of the season, only 4 more left to go after this one. Just what have been your general thoughts on season 1 of 2025 just thus far in terms of the racing, the way this car has been driving in this season build of iRacing, and your performance all throughout it?
It's been good. I mean, you know, definitely last year I think last season was a bit more straightforward, and this year just, you know, every single race having battles, and just obviously the beginning of the season was difficult for me, just having some tough races, and you know, feel like I'm back in my rhythm now. But yeah, I mean, I think I hope it continues to grow, because this had 3 splits this race, which I think it's the first time in a few weeks, and obviously a good SOF, and you know, 3 splits is pretty good. So yeah, no, I don't know. The car drives similar to last season. Obviously, just the races have been complicated, and people have stepped up their game, and yeah, I don't think I haven't been around for long in the series, but it's hard to imagine that it was more competitive than this ever. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was, but definitely feels really competitive. People are giving it their all, and that's exciting to be a part of.
I'll tell you this, Andre, the first ever Radical official broadcast I did here on Apex Racing TV was back at the start of March of 2023 for the end of Season 1 of 2023, and have it be known that the participation in this series skyrocketing, some of the names that you just see week in, week out, like yourself, Andreas Friedrich, Christoph Lipp, James Barry, who hasn't been joining us over the past couple of weeks, who will hopefully be making an appearance. He's a 2-time reigning Radical champion, so it's always nice to see the champ back out there on the track. But just the names and the faces in this series, they've remained consistent, they've remained fast, and you're one of the fastest guys in here, and always nice to see you back out on the racetrack and flexing those muscles week in and week out. We're going to be running at Brands Hatch in 1 week's time, so what are your thoughts heading into the next race of this championship?
I love Brands. I mean, I have more experience on the Indy layout. I've done the Formula Ford Festival in real life, and then also here in the Sims. So, and I actually raced European NASCAR there in real life. So, I have a special history with that track in real life for sure. I enjoyed it on the Sim. The GP layout, you know, it's a bit more. I guess I don't know it as well, but obviously I've driven it, and yeah, just exciting to be at Brands whenever the opportunity arises. So, yeah, I'll be happy to go there and see how we can do.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good race to look forward to in just 1 week's time. And nice to hear that you've got some experience running around there in real life and in the sim as well. So we'll have to wait and see if that's going to convert into some good performances in 1 week's time. But Andre Castro, thank you so much for joining us in the commentary booth. And before we let you go and celebrate this win at Okayama today, is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Just the team, Chris Wetz and Colin Brown was in the spotter stand, and yeah, it's my grandma's 90th birthday today, so since happy birthday. That's pretty much it. And you guys, of course. I always thank you guys for doing a great job. I mean, without the broadcast, I don't know if I would be racing. I like it a lot, so thank you guys.
Oh, well, thank you for the very kind words there, Andre. We appreciate that. I was just going to say, you could have capped off the interview with the shout-out for the grandma, and it would have been perfect as is, but you gave us some extra brownie points. So thank you very much, Andre. Congratulations on the win. Excited to see you back out on the racetrack for the rest of the season, man. Thank you for joining us, and happy birthday to your grandmother.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. See you soon. Thanks.
And that right there was Andre Castro. We're going to have to do some research to find some of his real-life racing adventures. Euro NASCAR, so that gives us a nice little lead off. But Aaron, it was a pretty fun broadcast to be a part of. And, man, Brands Hatch, I mean, you may be a little bit biased since you're a Brit, but Brands Hatch is just an absolutely wonderful racetrack. So I'm sure that race in 1 week's time will be super fun as well. What are your thoughts heading into it?
Well, considering that I used to live about 30 minutes away from it, yeah, bias. I don't have any biases whatsoever. But no, I think it's probably my favorite British track out of them all, I think. I mean, people obviously usually go, oh, what about Silverstone? Or what about this track? And it's just like, yeah, but Brands, it's got so much history. It's so fun to drive. Like, you can just drive there and have a track day. Just most of the time, and it's just fun. I can't do that with Silverstone. You know, they're too high and mighty for me to race my little box round it every single week. But I think Brands is probably the best British track. There's a lot of them, don't get me wrong. Alton, Donington, Snetterton, Thruxton, whatever. But Brands is the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, Brands Hatch is just an absolutely fabulous racetrack, and just another one from the fantastic season that we've got here from the Radical Esports Cup, which you can again catch every single Friday here on Apex Racing TV. But as for this broadcast here tonight, that will just about do it. And so for myself, Ron Mullins, Aaron Smith joining me in the commentary booth, and Josh Wilkie doing a fantastic job working on the cameras of the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.